everyone. I'm Stephen Durham with the JCPS Digital Innovation Team, and I am here with Eric Caston, a third grade teacher from Middletown Elementary. Um, Eric, you want to tell them why we ended up co-teaching this lesson together?
Sure. I knew the hour of code was coming up, and you and Russ had put something out that you guys would be more than willing to help out and do a co-teach lesson. Other than Turbo Pascal that I had taken back in the day, I know that's dating me when it comes to programming languages. I really haven't done anything since then, and thought, hey, I'm going to go to the experts, ask them what they know and how they can help me, and bring you all into my classroom.
Thank you. Yes. And we enjoyed doing it. Eric and I, we kind of met informally just to go over the plans and what we would do. So we did, just like any lesson, we came up with our learning target. We're having students participate in Hour of Code, and they created unique dance video via block coding. We tied it into the content standards of story problems, solving two-step problems with numbers. And then the technology standards as well, we tied in with using the proper technology and troubleshooting. And then also it was able to create a backpack artifact. So if you wanted to take it and create a backpack artifact about it, we go over the steps of that as well. So also
Absolutely. I mean, so much in math is logical thinking. And especially in order to tackle those two-step story problems, you really have to be able to tackle something logically. And so to be able to say, okay, here is something you can do with code. Now figure out how to do it logically and in a specific order, because those two-step word problems require them to do it in a certain order. They might have to do the addition first before they can do the division. And so before you can make something dance in this coding, there's certain things they have to do first. So it fits in really well with those two-step word problems.
That's great. Thanks for tying that together for us, Eric. Yeah. And another thing we did was Eric invited me to come just check out his class before I did the co-teach. So I could kind of see like his kids really mute when he says mute and raise their hand. And I kind of got to know their class so that when I did come back for the co-teach, they were already kind of comfortable with me and I knew how the class worked. So we used Culturally Responsive Teaching in the Brain is a book that I read, and I kind of told Eric about it. And one of the lesson plans they have is this Ignite, Chunk, Chew review. And so I decided to, since that's kind of how, we're learning how children's brains work, I wanted to use that in the planning of this lesson. So the first step we had was the Ignite. And there is a great Hour of Code video where different celebrities, President Obama, all talk about learning code and what code can do, how it creates apps and video games and the websites we use. And it actually, it fires me up. It gets me excited to teach coding. And using that, I was thinking about, kids love YouTube and there's all these videos out there and how you can maybe use videos to ignite their excitement and engagement for other type of learning activities. And Eric was telling me he had a couple examples of those.
Yeah, it was neat. The kids were able to, see some of those celebrities and those famous people in that video and be able to relate that way. During class, one of the things that I start with is like an intro slide using the Google slide deck, and have an intro slide posted, and then I insert usually a video from YouTube. Lately, we've been doing multiplication, and so I'll find multiplication or skip counting songs that go with the number that we're working on. Or we did orangutans and learned about the rainforest and saving the rainforest, and found some live orangutan videos and put those in. And the kids really like that, and it really helps kind of get them started and into the mood and into the feeling of what we're going to be doing that day. So the Ignite idea, is a great one.
I think, especially during NTI, a lot of it's about engagement. And if you can get them started with that engagement, the learning's just going to go a lot better. We also tied in on the Hour of Code site. We took them to the map that showed all the different places where students were doing an Hour of Code. So they didn't feel like this was an isolated lesson. They felt like they were part of a global event that millions of other students were participating in the Hour of Code. And you can also check that your school is doing Hour of Code, which Eric did. So Middletown Elementary is one of the schools that participated in an Hour of Code. So the next step is the chunk. Basically, you break down the learning activity. And so what we did, we go to, you can see the site there, code.org/dance. We showed them how the tools work, if you need to read the directions again or have them read to you. Then Eric was my student. He didn't have a ton of experience with block coding lately. And so I kind of walked him through the first couple activities so the students could see what it's like to do the activity. And also there's a feature where you can show the code so the students can actually see what they're doing block coding, see what the real code looks like, and kind of keep track of how many lines of code they have written. And then next, after we went through and modeled that for them, was the chew, where you actually let the students do the work. And so we unleashed them and had them code all the way up to, they did 10 different coding activities. And it was great for me I didn't know if there would be tons of questions or off-task behavior, but seeing their faces, luckily Eric is, his expectation is your camera's on, you're participating. And I could see those students, they were engaged, and you would hear like, yeah, cool, or the next animal's a shark, things like that. Yes.
Yeah, they love that. I mean, they love being able to shout out, almost became competitive on who could tell us what animal was coming up next. So that's kind of, some positive competition, some positive peer pressure. And then when you had asked if there were any questions, and one of my students asked, yes, is it okay if we show my cousin how to do this? And so I thought that was great, being able to then take that even a step further and outside of the classroom. And now we had a student who wanted to become the teacher and teach her cousin how to do this. I thought that was powerful. I thought that was awesome.
That was my favorite part. I was like, yes, this is great. And code does start off easy, but then it does get a little more difficult. And so sometimes kids would hit those roadblocks and need help. In a couple ways, you can either have a student that is really good with code and he can kind of share his screen and model how he did it, or you can kind of work through it together as a class. So even though it's great to let students loose and go at your own pace, it's also good to be able to come back together, regroup, and to work through those problems together.
Yeah, I think one of the positives that I've really seen come out of, this NTI has been that ability where students, start to feel empowered sharing their screen and sharing their process and sharing what they're doing. And I've really worked hard to create that climate in the class that if a student isn't sure of how to do something, another student feels comfortable saying, well, can I share my screen and show them how to do it? And so, there were opportunities throughout this for students to be able to do that.
Agreed.
It has really been It has really been powerful during this NTI that they felt that comfort level.
Yeah, they're getting through it together. It's not the teacher is the keeper of knowledge, and
Right.
Everybody's on their own.
Yeah.
And then the final chunk of this is we had the ignite, the chunk, the chew, and then you always want to review. You want to let the students go back to it, because if it's something that happens one day and then they never visit it again, it's not really going to stick. And the great thing is the dance party activity that we did has a part 2, keep on dancing. So the students could go back and do that as well. And the cool thing is when you introduce something like coding or Minecraft, students might want to keep on doing it during their own time, because Eric's a 3rd grade teacher, his curriculum's packed. He doesn't have time to let the kids spend a lot on coding. So how did some of your students continue with coding?
Well, that day immediately, one of the things I try to kind of build in the afternoon is some time for, like, during my office hours, for kids to either join or just to have time afterwards to practice something. But that day in particular, we ended it with an actual dance party. So we got out of our chairs and actually danced to the music that the kids were making. And that was a blast. That was hilarious that they actually wanted to have an actual dance party, which was great. So we were using the coding and the stuff they were doing at their desk or their table, and got up and got moving with it. But then, like I said, during office hours, I will open it up not just to questions, but if kids want to come in and go into a breakout room and work on coding or work on something together. With the coding, we've been doing some Minecraft. So some kids in office hours have come in. That way they have a space to collaborate. They have a space to work together outside of the school day. and either with my help or even better, helping each other getting through it. So it's been great.
That's great. That's good to hear. Yes. And then if you want to do a formal assessment of what the students learned with coding and or create a backpack artifact, I included directions, and here is a 7-minute video that you can share with your students that takes your students through the steps. So basically what the students would do is on activity 10 of part 1 of the uh, dance party coding, the students actually create their own dance video, including at least 4 characters doing at least 4 movements, dance moves at 4 different times. And it takes a lot of planning, and you pick your music, you pick when you want them to start doing the moves. So the students basically plan it all out, and it can be 80 lines of code or more. And I've seen second graders write over 100 lines of code to make a dance video. And so the students make this video, and then they take a screenshot of the code they wrote for the video. Then they start a Google Doc and title it and put a picture of that screenshot with their code, and then write a paragraph about the process, about how they decided to create their dance video, and then a reflection on what success skill they feel it applies to. Maybe they feel they're an emerging innovator because they created something new, a new dance video with code. Or maybe they feel like they're a globally culturally incompetent citizen because they participate in an event with millions of other people all over the world. So you want to give them that opportunity to reflect on what success skill that might apply to. And like I said, this video is kind of, I used to be a technology lab teacher, so it kind of takes them through the nuts and bolts of here's how you take a screenshot, here's how you copy and paste onto a Google Doc and format it and kind of get it there so they have a good backpack artifact that they can use if they choose. So did you have any other reflection or anything on the experience, Eric?
No, a couple of things that you had brought up that I remembered, the idea, another piece that kind of created a little bit of positive competition were the number of lines of code. And we had one kid kind of jump in and say, I'm already up to 81. And then I did have students afterwards also ask, were we really doing this with other students around the world? And so just, it kind of planted that seed that this is bigger, than just us. There's more out there and more going on out there that we can be a part of. And so that was, it just kind of started out as a small question, but it led to a bigger discussion of, there's kids all over the world, people all over the world, that are actually doing this. And so that's pretty neat.
It's great that you had that talk, because I know sometimes I feel like I'm, in my office during the day, just, and you feel disconnected during this time. But it's good to see that the students were able to participate in something that connected them and they had fun with. So I really enjoyed doing the lesson with you, Mr. Caston, and your class is great. And please tell them I said hi and thank you for the experience. And thanks for doing this with us. And if you have any questions, Eric is an available, happy to help guy. So you can email him about the lesson, email me about the lesson, and we're happy to support you with that. Thank you.
Thank you for giving your expertise and helping my students with this. It was awesome. It was a great experience.
Thanks.